All right, well, I think we're gonna get started here, and if more people join us, oh, more people are joining us already. So more people might join us as we go, which is great. We are recording this session for anyone who can't make it or comes in late. We'll post this online. So no worries if anyone's coming in a little bit late, but I do want to start out just by saying welcome. Thanks so much for being here at the Source Service Scholar Program Info Session. My name is Lydia Hickey. I'm the Source Assistant Director, and I'm one of the SSS program leaders. My pronouns are she, her, hers. I'll let my colleague introduce herself too.
Hi everyone, my name is Janae Johnson. I am the Assistant Director for the Academic Service Learning, and I also assist with co-leading for the SSS program.
Awesome. All right. So we'll dive in here. I do want to start and take a moment before we get into everything we're covering, just do some acknowledgements. We humbly acknowledge that Johns Hopkins University is located on the traditional and contemporary homelands of Indigenous people. Our campus resides on unceded lands of the Piscataway and Susquehannock peoples. Impact of racism, systemic oppression, including the practice of redlining and colonization, genocide, and state-sanctioned violence on the lives of Black and Brown folks in Baltimore. So a couple of the things we'll be going through today. So we're going to just do a quick introduction to Source itself, our center, who we are, what we do, and our Johns Hopkins University Community Engagement principles. We'll give you an introduction to the SSS program and an overview of the current projects that are available for application. We'll go through the expectations we have of students who are enrolled in the program and your responsibilities, and then we'll talk about the student application. We'll also be reserving time for questions. We have some like commonly asked questions that we'll go through, but obviously open the floor to you as well for any additional questions you may have. And then I just want to name too, in case anyone is watching the recording and is not here with us live, that you can reach out to source@jhu.edu if you have any additional questions. Please reach out to us. Let us know how we can support you through this process of application. Okay, so about Source. So Source is the Community Engagement and Service Learning Center for the 3 health professional schools in the East Baltimore campus. So that means that we work with the schools of professional health, the School of Nursing, and the School of Medicine. We work in Baltimore communities in mutually beneficial partnerships that promote health and social justice. The values that we use to center our work are reciprocity, justice, service, and collaboration. And as we get into the details of this project, you'll see how those values are really built into our work, particularly focusing on how this can be mutually beneficial for you as a student, but also for our community. Our principles of community engagement. This is how we build partnerships. Oh, more people keep joining, just a second. Our principles of community engagement. So this is how we build our partnership and practice service learning. We focus on shared vision and values, mutuality and respect, transparency and communication, shared decision making. You'll see that that is a big focus in this particular project for the Source Service Scholars, as well as commitment. All right, so critical service learning, what is critical service learning? Critical service learning is a huge component of this program. We'll get into that in a little moment, but just for an introduction for those of you who haven't done critical service learning or haven't heard this pedagogy quite yet. So critical service learning is grounded in social change. We're building authentic relationships, and we're focusing on the redistribution of power. Redistribution of power is really huge, especially for students who are working in partnership with our community members. Our community members, a lot of them have a lived experience and a lived in Baltimore experience. So they have a really, really unique understanding of the history of Baltimore and the needs of the, maybe clients at a particular site in Baltimore. So you definitely want to focus on that flat space of shared knowledge that both of you can bring to the table. You as a student with your, Johns Hopkins education, and our community members with their knowledge of the needs of the community. I'm going to hand things over to my I'm sorry, I'm still presenting another slide to you. My apologies. So I'm going to give you just a quick overview of the SSS program itself. So this is an opportunity for you to build a long-term commitment to a specific Baltimore community-based organization. We use that acronym CBO all the time. That just means community-based organization. The requirements, we require you to do a minimum of 125 hours of service, up to 150 hours of service, but a minimum of 125 throughout the academic year. So that breaks down to about 3 to 5 hours per week. This is a program that does receive a stipend. So we do have a stipend of $1,875 that you're paid for engaging in this work. Typically, you'll be working July of 2025 through May of 2026. So we'll get into the details in a moment, but July is when we have our first session. Some of you in this first round who get selected and partnered with organizations first will have the opportunity to engage a little bit sooner if you so desire, but the sessions themselves start in July. This program is open to any student enrolled full-time in the Johns Hopkins University Schools of Public Health, Nursing, and Medicine. So medicine, just keep in mind that this is a program that's only available to MD students in your years 1 through 4 only. That's just one of the requirements of this partnership. One thing that I also want to name, because I've gotten this question, is what if I graduate in December of 2024 or 2025? What year am I on? 2025. What if I graduate before that May deadline, May 2026? You would not be eligible. You do have to be enrolled academically for the duration of this project. So I do just want to name that. For this project, scholars are leading a small team of student volunteers on projects. So you are a program manager. You are recruiting and managing a group of volunteers to complete a project that's been designed by one of our community partners. I'm seeing a chat. Let me see that quick. 1 second. Does that apply for students on research year? I'm assuming that's an MD question. Can this person either come off of mute or add more to the chat? I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Does that mean that you're an MD student?
Yes, I am. So I'm currently in my 3rd year and will be possibly taking like a research year. So taking 1 year off to do research between my 3rd and 4th year, which would possibly overlap with when I would apply for this. I was just wondering if that is possible, or how did that look?
So as a question, are you still enrolled in the university during that time if you're taking a research year?
Yeah, that I don't know. I guess not full-time student. Like you're put on a leave of absence, so you're still a medical student, but you're put on a
Okay.
leave of absence for that year.
Okay, so I'm not positive. Umar, do you mind if we check on that and email you back later today or tomorrow.
Yeah,
I
that would
just,
be great.
I don't want to say yes or no and give you the wrong information, so I do want to check first.
Yes, no, that's perfect.
Oh, someone just put into the chat.
Oh,
I asked
perfect.
Dean Solomon, he said we can apply. Okay, I thought that that was the answer, that it was a yes, but I was like, I can't promise anything.
No, that's okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not gonna promise something and be the person to take that back. So thank you to the person in the chat who said that they've checked with Dean Solomon. So awesome. Thank you for that information. Okay, so getting back to this last point, so the students in the SSS program, you are a project leader. You are recruiting a group of student volunteers, a minimum of 4, but it depends on what your project is. Some people recruit more. Again, that's up to you. That's your choice. And then you are leading a project that is determined by your CBO partner. Okay, couple of more things about the SSS program. You receive training and guidance from SOURCE covering the following. So service learning theories and reflection practices, interprofessional competencies. So we do focus on, well, first of all, the students in each cohort are interprofessional. So you're working with and learning from other SSS colleagues who are interprofessional by nature, but also you are recruiting interprofessional volunteers, etc. So this is definitely an interprofessional practice. And then you'll also be doing, as I said, project management, volunteer recruitment, delivering and reporting on outcomes, and you'll receive training and guidance on all of those steps. Training is delivered through Source Service Academy. There are mandatory sessions that are once a month, starting in July. And as you're accepted to the program, we give you those sessions well in advance. They are in-person sessions in the evenings. They'll be Tuesday evenings next year, once per month. So we do them as evening sessions to, kind of work with your student schedule. Those are considered mandatory, but if you do have to miss them for, sometimes you might, if you're a nursing student, you might have clinicals, life happens, we do understand that, but you do need to confer with the SOURCE team ahead of time so that you can get makeup work and meet with us ahead of time. SOURCE scholars are also assigned to a SOURCE staff member, so either Janae or myself, since we're the co-leads for this program, and you'll have continued one-on-one advising and consultations throughout the duration of the academic year. Hi, I'm incoming international student in the School of Public Health. My classes would start in August. Am I eligible to apply? Yes. Yes, you are eligible to apply if you're starting in August. We would ask, our first session is on July 15th. We'll do that hybrid because we know some students won't have started their academic year quite yet. So we'll ask that you try and attend that session online via Zoom if you're not here in person yet. But yes, if you're starting in August, you're eligible to apply. Thanks for that question. Okay, now I'm going to hand things over to my colleague.
Thanks, Lydia. So briefly, you all, what we'll talk about really quickly is just some of the CBO projects and what that kind of entails. And then a little bit later in the presentation, we'll talk about a couple of the SSS projects that we had for this academic year as well. So a little insight about the projects. You can go to the next slide. Thank you, Lydia. So we make sure that you all have at least a primary and a secondary preceptor. The reason for this is so that we can make sure that the organizations that you're working with, you have some sort of support there with them as well. They are there to help you. They are there to help kind of supervise your project as well, and just giving help with any needs that you may have as you are doing the project. We typically take about 14 SOURCE service scholars that'll be selected for the upcoming academic term. We typically pick about 5 scholars within the first round. We also have to make sure we're matching it with how many CBOs put in a project. And just so happened we had about 5 put in for round 1, and then we expect about 9 for the round 2 that'll be in the summer as well. We try to make sure that you all understand that this is a project and not just like a one-time thing, right? So you're going to finish that project from start to finish. So like Lydia said, you may start in July, typically August, but you go all the way throughout like April, May. So it is a project that you're going to start from start to finish. And you also will be bringing on other volunteers as well. So it's not like an internship, but you're an actual project manager. So talking more about internship versus project manager, again, you are more so focused on the specific project. It's not like you're working on one general task or you're doing like administrative tasks. You're doing things that's going to become an actionable, deliverable item. You will see once you become an SSS scholar that you also get a work plan where you're also planning out your project. So it's not like you wake up on a random day and say, today I want to file paperwork. No, you have your project in mind. You have what you need to do each month or each week to get that project done, as well as incorporating the volunteers that you bring onto the project, making sure that you all are working on different tasks and action items to reach the deliverable by the end of the SSS project. Again, you will be bringing in to about 3 to 4 volunteers as well. So that will also be there to help you assist with the project. And it's more of a collaborative approach to the project. So you're using different strategies, using different volunteers as well to be able to get to the final deliverable outcome that should be around April, May. So some of the examples of projects that we've had is like development of implementation of different curriculums. So for example, for one of our organizations, they are developing a like Spanish curriculum for a lot of their immigrant children that may have like, needs in being able to understand in different languages and so forth. So they have different things that they are doing throughout the organizations that they have needs for, as well as like advocacy. We have different things that need to be brought to awareness. So different program designs as well too. So sometimes, organizations are very busy. They are not able to really initiate ideas on their own. Sometimes they're short-staffed. Like I said, sometimes they're just really busy people. So they will bring in a source service scholar to kind of bring their ideas to life that they may have about a project opportunity. For example, I know that like with Heart Smiles, which is one of our organizations that we have a part of our CBO network that are looking forward to creating a whole new way to how can we mentor and provide mental health awareness, not just for the students, but also for their families as well. So just bringing their ideas to life as well too. And then also an extension. So maybe there is a program that they may already have, but they want to improve on the program, or they want to extend it past a certain period, or they may have started on it and they say, you know what, we've had this as a program for 10 years. We need to develop on this idea. The community has new needs. They may also have you work on a project pertaining to that as well. So here's a list of some of the current projects that we have, just as an example, to give you kind of some more insight on what some of the organizations that we have and what are some of the projects that they've done before. So with Playpots, they have the 15 Years of Adult Education project. We have Day Springs program where they're working on kind of like reinventing the wheel with some of the programs and organizations that they already have going. We also have some of our services that are working on refugee wellness. Like I said, working on like immigration, working on like LGBT rights. We have a lot of our organizations that do that type of work. And their projects also reflect that as well. So they're, again, either working on creating additional initiatives to help support their vision of their organization, or just implementing a completely new program as well to help enhance. One of the favorite ones that I like, because they are one of my partners as well that I partner with, is NAMI. So they have a Spanish program expansion that they're still working on. They've been able to include the Spanish population in getting mental health services. And then also using one of our source service scholars to create more opportunities such as professional development, such as different mental health sessions that would help the needs of the Spanish speaking community. There is a multitude of different projects that we have. Again, some are pertaining to our youth, some are pertaining to LGBTQ rights, immigration rights, legal rights as well. The possibilities are endless. And something that I always want to tell the scholars to keep in mind, even if you work with one organization on a project, you can always continue to have that connection with them afterwards, which is really great. I know some of our scholars have already said like they have even an opportunity to work with them after the Source Service Scholars Program. So my advice to you is when you are selecting a program when you're applying is to keep that in mind. What resonates with you well, and what is something that you can see yourself doing, not just for the project, but something that you could even possibly do beyond that to still be involved in your community engagement. So back to the preceptor part. So again, we typically make sure that you all have 2 points of contacts. That is your 2 preceptors for the project. They are part of the organization in which you'll be serving. We make sure those preceptors also do an orientation as well. So they will do their Source online preceptor modules. Well, they'll learn about what Source is, learn about what their expectations is, as well as a CBO preceptor for you and how they should be supporting you through the duration of your project. They will be supervising you as well. They'll be helping you over the term of your project. They are expected to meet with you frequently. So it's not like, okay, you have the preceptor and I never hear from them again. We want you to make sure that you're having those regular check-ins with them. They can help make sure that you're on track, making sure that your progress is moving forward, and also stepping in where you may need assistance as well too. A lot of times things are very unexpected. We know that there is a lot going on in the world today. So making sure that you have those preceptors that can lean on to them when you need that support is definitely helpful. And of course, Lydia and I are here to support too as well as providing guidance on completing that project. So again, this is a year-long initiative. So they are there to help check in and making sure that you're staying in accordance to getting the deliverable outcome done at the end of the term. And a sustainable plan. So again, not just working on something that's gonna be finished in a month, but how do we contribute to making sure that this year-long process is going as smoothly as possible, and how can we assist in any manner? You all will also, and as well as your CBO, be engaged in evaluation. So you'll do a mid-year and a final evaluation, just talking about the Source Service Scholar Project. How is it going? What are some things that you all are noticing? And just ways that we can also improve and develop the program. They also will be the ones to verify your hours on Hopkins Engage. So you will use Hopkins Engage to log your hours that you are putting in towards the project. And your 2 preceptors will also have the ability to go in and to verify your hours as well. And that's how your hours will count. And then also they'll be able to remain flexible with you. We also know that you all are students before anything, so it's definitely highly recommended that you keep a great relationship with your CBO preceptors because they need to know what's going on. Maybe you need more time to study. Maybe you're not able to give as many hours one week. So just making sure that you have a really open line of communication with your 2 preceptors is definitely important. So what's expected of you as a Source Service Scholar? So again, as Lydia mentioned earlier, it is required to attend the Academy sessions. We have those once a month. If you are not able to make those sessions, please do communicate. That's super important because if it's mandatory, we do need to know in advance if you're not able to attend. As well as completing the online modules, reflection, reading assignments associated with the program, as well as build the project work plan. So I know I mentioned it a little bit earlier about the work plan. The work plan helps make sure that your project is staying in alignment, that you have a plan and you know how to get to that deliverable outcome. And then making sure that you're staying on top of your Hopkins Engaged hours. So again, it's super important to log those hours. It's easy to forget. So just making sure you're getting into the habit of regularly inputting your hours on there. Ensuring that you're also recruiting at least 4 volunteers from the health professional schools. Again, you can't do this work alone. It's very important for you also to have that recruitment aspect a part of your project. And meeting regularly with your advisors, which will either be myself or Lydia. We want to have at least a once-a-month check-in, nothing too long or lengthy, or we're not asking for a lot during those sessions, but just to check in to see where you all are on the project and how we can be of any support to you as well. And again, that mid-year and final evaluations, we want to know about the project progress as well as a self-assessment and kind of being able to know how your project is doing. And again, it also helps for programmatic needs and how we can improve in the future. And then of course, remaining flexible with us as times continue to change, just making sure that you're of course keeping an open mind to things that we may have to pivot to and just making sure that we're continuing to progress along.
And I want to add to that too, as an example of flexibility. For example, some of our community partners are having impacts right now because of new federal regulations, which means that students have really been communicating closely with their preceptors about, okay, do we need to make some changes to how we're doing volunteer recruitment? Or do we need to make some changes to how we're doing evaluation for this project? So that's what we mean too by being flexible, is like there are some things in working with community leaders that can change as you go, and being agile is so important. And we will never fault you for any changes that come up, but we do expect you to just be communicative. That's literally all we can ask of you. So just wanted to name that too, because
No, it's a
we've
great
been discussing that a lot.
Great addition.
Yeah.
Thanks, Lydia. And then, of course, a little bit more about Hopkins Engage. Again, this is exactly where you all need to get very familiar with. This is how you get your hours counted towards the work that you're doing. You're expected to get between 125 and 150 hours. This is where you will log it. This is how your CBO can make sure and verify your hours as well. That counts towards your final hours count. Remember that you do get paid based on the hours that you are completing, so that is something that you want to keep regularly checking on. And again, during your onboarding, you will also learn more about Hopkins Engage and how to get set up on it.
Okay. One of the other benefits of the Source Service Scholars program, it depends on which school you're in, which program you're in, but there are different benefits where you can receive academic credit. So I want to name first, if you are an NPH student, you can count the SSS program towards your practicum. This fulfills your entire practicum requirement. We are a part of the NPH practicum team, and we will support you as you start this program and filling out the appropriate paperwork to have this program accepted for your practicum requirements. So just want to name that, like, we don't expect you to know how to do that. We'll support you through that process if that applies to you only as an MPH student. But I do want to name too that if you are in that category, you do have to register for the Source Practicum Special Studies credits. Sorry, just had a pop-up come up. The other thing that I want to name is that any student who does the SSS project can take that Source Practicum Special Studies credit and use it as a special studies credit. You know, if you're not an MPH student, obviously that doesn't count towards your practicum per se, but you can still use that towards academic credits. For other programs, you can use the SSS program for your capstone. Capstone is a requirement of several different programs across the 3 schools. So if you have questions about that pertaining to your particular degree, just reach out and let us know. But this does fulfill capstone requirements. And the School of Medicine, for the MD students, this can fulfill your scholarly concentration as well. So again, I know the people applying to this program, you cover a lot of different degrees and spaces. So if you have questions, reach out to us. But I did want to name this as one of the benefits for this program, aside from that stipend that we discussed earlier. As you're digging into the application, definitely want to give you some tips. So one is just reading carefully through the project descriptions. If you're registered for this info session, when we're done, we'll make sure to send you the link or send you the recording of this for those of you who joined late or couldn't join us. But make sure that you're reading carefully through those project descriptions. I highly recommend that you select up to 2 projects in your application, because that just gives you a better chance of getting matched. So in some cases, I've had students only apply to one project where they've straight up told me this. I've read all of the project descriptions thoroughly. Truly, this is the only thing I'm interested in. I have my heart set on this, and they know that they're taking a risk of, you know, potentially that project being highly competitive and not getting matched. But if you do have an openness to multiple job descriptions or project descriptions, excuse me, I do recommend going ahead and it's just one application. It's one application that you fill out, but you can name both projects. So I do highly recommend that. One question that I sometimes get is, you know, which projects are most competitive? And the truth is, we never know. Like sometimes I have been so surprised. I think that one project is going to get the most applications, and then it's actually a different project. So I can't upfront tell you which projects are the most competitive, which is another reason why I highly recommend going ahead and naming 2 projects that you're interested in your application. That just gives you a much better chance of being selected and invited to interviews, because this program is competitive, because it's one of our stipend programs. Make sure that when you're reading those projects, that you are marketing your skills and previous work experience, that you're really making a strong connection to the project description and the verbiage used in the project description, matching it to your work experience. You're illustrating that you are the best candidate for this project. Eligibility, mention this, you're admitted in any of the 3 schools, registered for courses, or those SOM students who are on their research year. That's, you know, kind of a special circumstance situation that's been approved by Dean Solomon, which is fantastic. But you're admitted and registered for courses for the duration of the academic year of 2025 to 2026, graduating in May 2025 or thereafter. Again, that example I gave of like, oh, if I graduate in December of 2025, can I keep going? No, you do have to be admitted and academically engaged throughout the duration of the project. Scholars are full-time students who are typically located in the greater Baltimore area. The reason we say you're typically located in the greater Baltimore area, you know, if you're from further outside of Baltimore, just please know that you'll have to keep transportation in mind. SSS projects do require either fully in-person or hybrid work arrangements. I'd say most of them at this point are hybrid, but I really want you to think about what's feasible for you when you're looking at those project descriptions, when you're looking at organizations, when you're thinking about your transportation access and your ability to get to a site. Definitely don't apply for a site that you can't feasibly access or get to, because there is an expectation that you'll be doing at least hybrid work arrangements, again, for 3 to 4 hours per week. And typically during Baltimore business hours as well. So just keep in mind that these are, you know, businesses that they typically won't have like super late evening hours or weekend hours. That doesn't mean that you can't do some of those hours on your own time. Again, that hybrid option is available for most of our projects. But if you are doing in-person hours, just keep in mind that those typically are going to be on site during business hours. The timeline. So the application for 5 projects is open now. So it's open now and it closes Friday, March 21st by 11:59 p.m. So just keep that in mind that you have until the 21st. You have a little bit more time here to get these applications in. Then our source team does an internal review of all applications. We'll narrow the applications down to the topmost candidates for each project and then pass along those candidates to our partner organizations. They will reach out to you, the preceptors from each site will reach out to you to coordinate an interview for the position. Again, if you've applied for 2 projects, there's a chance you might be invited to 2 interviews. So I do highly recommend that if you're applying for this position, go ahead and maybe reserve some time now in your calendar from April 3rd through 17th, so that you can accommodate some student interviews during that block of time. Our interviews, they're up to the choice of the CBO partner if they are asking you to do them in person or a phone call or Zoom. Last year we had all three, so I can't tell you which what the site will ask for. It just kind of depends on their availability, but that is the set in stone time frame for those interviews. Then you will, by Friday, April 18th, preceptors will submit their choices to us, and students, you will also submit your choices to us if you went on interview. So what I mean by that is, if you're a student who applied for 2 projects and you went and were invited and went on 2 interviews, then we need to know which is your top choice. If you were invited to 1 interview and went on 1 interview, we still want to know, we still want confirmation from you if you're moving forward with that site, because this is meant to be a mutually beneficial partnership. So if you go on that interview and decide this isn't a right fit, then we need to know that before the CBO partner says, yes, they really want to move forward with you. We just need that confirmation that you're ready to move forward with them as well. It's definitely a 2-way street. Once we receive that ranking, then the following week, we will essentially do some matchmaking, and we will notify students of their student placements, and we'll notify students that are not chosen that they have not been chosen. You have 5 business days to respond to us and agree that you're entering that partnership with the community organization, and that you're participating in our summer academy session on July 15th. So mark your calendars now for the first academy session. It's on July 15th from 11:30 to 1. Let me just check, because I can't remember what day of the week that is off the top of my head. That is, oops, I'm looking at the wrong month. My apologies. Tuesday. Yes, all of our academy sessions are on Tuesday. So Tuesday, July 15th from 11:30 to 1. That first session will be hybrid because we know that some of you, depending on your program, might be starting in August.
All right, so we'll jump into some FAQs that we
Oh.
typically get.
I've got a few chat questions, so I just want to, no, you're fine. I didn't notice these, so I just want to check and make sure. I was curious about when we would know about the CBO projects for round 2 in the summer and how the timeline for those service scholars would look like. That's a great question. So we have a second round that is opening up for our CBOs for them to submit their calls for proposal. Those are coming up in April and are due mid-April to us. So then, let's see, April 14th through Sunday, May 11th is the second round where you can see the second wave of CBO applications. So I do want to name 2 that if you either are not accepted to this first round, or you go on an interview, it's not the right match, or whatever happens, if this round doesn't work for you, there is that round 2 that comes up in the summer where you can apply. Again, that window is April 14th through Sunday, May 11th. I do want to say though, and just be super, super transparent with you. When we get closer to that summer window, that's when we get really close to the new MPH cohort starting. And because this fulfills the MPH practicum requirement, the summer is when we get a massive amount of interest from MPH students hoping to fulfill their practicum. So I do just want to be as transparent as possible with you that the closer we get to the summer, the more competitive that this program becomes and the more applications we receive. Students last year who applied in round 1 had a better chance of being accepted than in round 2, because I think in round 1, we had about 30 applicants for 5 projects. Round 2, we had well over 100 applicants for 9 projects. So again, I can never predict exactly what is going to happen this year or where people will be interested for which project and which CBO partner. But that's me just being as transparent with you as possible about what that process has looked like. So I do want to encourage you, if you have an interest in this program, I do encourage you to apply in round 1 and not wait until round 2, just because like I mentioned, it does get competitive.
Another question.
Oh, there's another question. Let me go back. Oops, my apologies. Oh, I did answer that one
Okay.
about, if they're eligible to apply if they start in August. The answer is yes
Sorry,
to that. No, no, no.
Okay.
No, and I'm trying to keep up on the questions as well. So we're gonna go through the frequently asked questions that we get, but we will reserve time at the end for open questions as well.
So first question that we typically get is how and when the stipend is distributed. So to answer that question, it is in 2 installments. So we give you the first half of the a little bit shy of $1,900 stipend. Once you finish half of your hours. So again, you have to have between 125, 150 hours. So once you get to that midway point at about 60, 70 hours, we start to then process your first installment. You will get the second installment upon completion of all of your hours, the 125 to 150. We again will be regularly checking. We also have typically like a graduate student that's assisting in making sure that your hours are up to date on how to gauge. We always know how many hours you have, so it's something that we always keep in our forefront to make sure we're very aware of when you're going to get to that threshold to be eligible for your first half of your stipend or your second half of your stipend. Can you continue to be a scholar after the academic year ends? So unfortunately, it's only for 1 full academic year. And so I know I mentioned a little bit earlier in today's session that if you just really resonate well with your organization, you love the work that you do, it's great to formulate that authentic relationship with them. So possibly after you finish the project, you can maybe still keep a connection with that organization, do some outside work with them. However, you only can be a part of the program for the full academic year. Again, you're more than welcome to keep in touch with the partner that you had from your organization, but it is going to conclude after 1 academic year. So when you'll also be assigned a source service staff advisor, which is either myself or Lydia as well, upon completion of the summer preparation assignments, as well as we will have those regular check-ins, so those monthly check-in meetings where we're just working with you, looking at your work plan, making sure that you're staying on track, gauging what your project progress is looking like, if there's any things that we may need to assist with on pivoting, as well as doing check-ins to make sure that you are also in a good communication status with your preceptors as well. So again, we are here to help you throughout the way, and you also have your 2 preceptors to lead on as well.
One note that I'm realizing that we forgot to add, just in terms of your hours, any of your advising meetings and any of your source service like academy sessions, those count towards your hours. So if you're meeting with us monthly for half an hour and you're attending an academy session for about 2.5 hours, that gives you 3 hours a month right out the gate. So just want to name that too, that this all counts towards your hours.
Thanks, Lou. That's a really great point. Yes. Got to add that, but that is a really huge factor in getting your hours as well. We don't want you to think that meeting with us is just busy work, or meeting with your preceptors are just busy work. No, those are things that count towards your hours, as well as time that you may spend emailing different organizations as well, or different points of contact with your organization. So if they're having you like find different community partners to work with, you spending time conducting those emails also counts towards your hours. So we make sure that you are getting those hours on a consistent basis, and anything that you're doing relating to SSS, you do get credit for as well. Yes, you do have to attend all of these Source Academy sessions. Again, if there is any conflict and you know in advance, please do let us know so that we can make sure that we are accommodating of that. However, it is required for you to attend all monthly sessions, as well as making sure that you're checking in with your advisor on a regular basis and your check-ins with your preceptors. That cut off just a little bit. Let me see what the bottom question looks like. Okay. Are the community outreach programs, COP, at nursing and SSS program the same, or are they separate? They are 2 separate entities. So of course, both are year-long experiences. And they do work with Baltimore nonprofits. However, the Source Service Scholar Program is its own entity and it is completely different. So if you're interested in COP, this is not the same thing. This is something completely different, 2 different projects.
I also help manage the COP program. So if you're a master's entry nursing student and you are interested in the COP program, you can also reach out with questions about that, but they are separate programs. We've got a few more frequently asked questions and then we'll open the floor up to everyone. Can I choose my own CBO? No, but some caveats there. So the way that this works is, and I'm going back to our model, where we have mutually beneficial relationships. We do community first. So our community partners tell us what they need. We don't go to a community partner and say, students want to work with you, so do this program. We have community partners tell us, this is what our need is, this is what project we really want students to engage in. And that's how we have the projects that we have. Community tells us what they need. You then apply to which partners you're interested to work with out of the ones who are listed in the application. So that's how it works. And so it's kind of a yes, no. You are applying for the projects that you're most interested in, but it doesn't just, I've gotten that question before because they'll go to our website and see like, oh, you work with over 100 partners. Can I work with XYZ organization? Actually, that partner might not be participating this year. So if you do have questions about a specific organizations, certainly reach out and talk to us, but that's just not the way that our model works. Where you choose, our partners come to us with their need. Do I have to have a reference? So if you move to the interview round, yes, we'll directly contact the reference contact you listed in your application materials. The way that it works is we'll send them a survey to fill out for you. In some circumstances, we might also give them a call. That's only if you're moving to the interview round. And we'll notify you when that change is happening, when you're moving to the interview round, because I always think that's a good courtesy to tell those references like, hey, expect a phone call or expect this survey, but we'll give you a heads up. This program is very competitive. So this just helps us as we are, really, really thinking about what's going to be a good match for our partner organization. Why do I need 2 preceptors? So this is really for your benefit. This is to ensure that the organization has more than one person that's aware of your work and can support you. I mean, just like one example I can think of off the top of my head this year, like the primary preceptor for someone went on bereavement leave. Okay, well, that scholar might still have questions during that 1 or 2 weeks when their primary preceptor is gone. And that's not something that we could have predicted, life happens. So that scholar thankfully has a secondary preceptor where they can still reach out and ask questions and get access to resources at their site. So that's just an example of why we always make sure to have 2 preceptors and 2 points of contact for you at all times. Can international students apply? Yes, you can apply. However, this is a Baltimore-based opportunity. So if you're international, we want to make sure that you're located in the Baltimore area because this is, you're going to be hybrid. You're going to be doing some of your hours on site. Do the 4 volunteers have to be from my school? So the volunteers must come from the health professional schools. So it can be nursing, medicine, or public health. And we will provide you with support for recruitment. So one thing that we encouraged our students to do with our preceptors last year in the fall, some of you who've been here might remember in the fall, we had a massive community involvement fair in Finestone Hall in the Bloomberg School of Public Health. Like 350 students attended, but it was an opportunity for students to get to engage with community members. And we had scholars do tabling with their preceptors, and they were able to talk to volunteers from all 3 schools about their projects and sign up volunteers on the spot. And it worked really well for a lot of our students. So that's just one example. But again, I'm going back to this project. It is interprofessional. So we do want you to be engaging with, learning from, sharing ideas with students from, you know, all different backgrounds and professions. Thank you to those of you who've put really thoughtful questions in the chat box. But I do want to pause. If there's any questions we haven't covered, feel free to put them in the chat box or just go ahead and come off of mute. Pause for a few more seconds. Give someone a chance if they're typing something. Okay. We did have some really great questions before in the chat box, so I do appreciate you. If you think of questions after the fact, or if you're one of the people who's watching this recording after the fact, reach out to source@jhu.edu. We are here to support you in this process.
Could you share today's could you share today's slide?
Yes, yes. So everyone who is here or is like requesting the recording, you had to register to be here. So we have your name and email. So we will send you by the end of the day, actually probably, let's be realistic. I'll say by the end of the day tomorrow, I'll be able to send you the recording, the slides, and the source contact information along with the link for the application. So I'll send you those 4 things by the end of the day tomorrow.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for asking. Any other questions? All right. Well, I'll leave you with the QR code that takes you directly to our application and a reminder that the application closes Friday, March 21st by 11:59 p.m. We are here if you have questions. We've gotten some questions already and we're excited. I love this program so much. I know that Johns Hopkins University, you know, if you're nursing, public health, or medicine, prepares you for so many things. One of the things that I think this program prepares you with is how to be a project manager and how to be a leader. And not all of your coursework does that. So I really highly recommend this program. It's such an incredible way to get involved in your community, whether you're here just for your school years or sticking around past school. I really, really believe in this program and I hope you consider applying and just reach out to us if you have any questions.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. Lydia summed it up quite well. You all had awesome questions. It's been great with you today. I really do look forward to getting your applications in. And again, please do not hesitate. If you think of any questions, I know sometimes in the moment you're like, okay, I can't think of anything now, but later, possibly even when you look at the applications, or if you head to our website where we also do have a detailed outline of the 5 projects that we currently have, maybe you'll take a look at those and then you'll come up with questions. Please do not hesitate to reach out to us and send us any questions that you may have. We'd be more than happy to assist you in getting those questions answered. And then also, as well as the application, you do not have to go through it struggling as well. So if you feel like, okay, I'm having questions as I'm going through the application phase, please reach out to us as well.
All right, that's all we've got for you. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
Have a good one.
Thank you.